This week in comic books, DC proves it doesn't need editors. Over in the land of Marvel, it proves that they don't need editors. And in independent comics, they don't they don't need editors. Let's roll the intro. Hey, what's going on, you wonderful weirdos? I'm Po Kanjo, and as always, you're pretty cool for swinging by. Appreciate having you here. If this is your first time here, I'm a middle-aged man. I read a bunch of comic books, I take some notes on them, and sometimes we have fun with certain issues, and other ones we just talk about what we picked up on New Comic Book Day. So understand this is my superficial review, if you will, of what I picked up this week as well as what I got. So without further ado, let's skidoo right into it with DC. So DC launches Superman, Son of Kal-El, right? And you're like, all right, so now we're going to get that future story where everything's going to tie in at the end. And first off, I kind of like the artwork in here. I want to say it's like a manga type thing, but then they do this very American thing too. It kind of dives in and out, but it all connects pretty well for the most part. We find out just how compassionate John is as a superhero, or taking the mantle of Superman in this particular story. And of course his long friendship with, of course, Robin, an older Damian, if you will. This is interesting. I like where this is going. Obviously we're having, like, the government's always a fraction of an existential threat, and then we got, of course, villains and invasions and all this other stuff. But we also get this little nuance of, you know, how can I be like my father or just as good as my father? And Robin's constantly telling him, you don't need to be your father, you just need to be the best you. So I kind of want to walk down this path a little bit to see what is the best Superboy out there. Or in this case, Superman, I guess. We can literally say, I went with this cover. I don't know why. Something about yellow, I guess. I don't know. It's not even my favorite color. But they had some cool covers. But this, I don't know. This one just kind of stood out to me as an old-timey type comic book cover. So I went ahead and picked that up. So all in all, it's all right. It's a good jumping on point. Especially if you've been missing some of the future state story. You're not going to get lost, because this actually explains the ending that you saw there. So it's probably a good jumping on point. You know, the beginning. Moving on. Okay, Icon and Rocket. This is actually good. I'm somewhat familiar with Icon as a comic book hero. He has an origin story. It's very similar to something like Superman, you know, brought here by an alien ship on a dying world, yada, 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 tropey. But then he's like he came here a very long time ago, through like the 1800s, and we kind of see his progression throughout to current date, because I want to say he's immortal. I don't know if he has to do anything to be immortal. But this is their first origin story of how he kind of teamed up with Rocket here, and how she was kind of like super smart girl, because you got to do that nowadays. I get it. It's tropey. You're going to hear that a lot today. One thing, just one, and this is me being a nerd, which if you're a comic book person, you know, it's the thing, right? And it's so minor at this point. The way he's kind of describing what he can do and everything is just kind of off base for me. I'm hoping that we kind of just get the story instead of the message in issue 2, because I think that's what comic book readers would want to read. So hopefully we can move into that, and we can kind of get, okay, we got the message. Let's move on with the story now. What is your story? What is the character doing? And again, an editor would kind of clean that up a little bit in here. Instead of telling us how special and unique everybody is, kind of show us in the conflict and how they deal with the conflict. So all in all, this is a fair book. I really did enjoy it. All right, moving into Action Comics. Action Comics this week. So this is taking place in Mongol 2, the one who holds the chains. We have finally get what the chains are, and the chains are a representation of how many enemies you have beaten. So these slaved Kryptonians from an ancient race were actually sent to Earth to kind of disrupt things, take things over, destroy things. And this one's kind of, our one particular character in here, she's having a hard time, kind of like, why are these people randomly giving me stuff when I have to earn everything there? And and back and forth in this, to the point to where Mongol's like, hey, she's falling, she's slipping, right? 'Cause she's crying, she's getting emotionally attached to these people. Send some bullies over there. Lois Lane pops in because she's super independent and strong. Grabs a huge gun and just starts blasting away at bad guys to save her. And of course, this confuses the young lady even more, to the point. But I do like this whole kind of occult, holder of the chains, the links actually meaning something to the people rather than the representation as we would see them, somebody in chains, given slavery and stuff like that. These are actually kind of like something they've earned, even though overstanding, they're really just slaves. But, beliefs and cults make you do weird things and make you believe weird things. So I like this. Also, this is just creepy to me. That's literally a baby hanging out in that dude's head. Like, that's... Oh, and then I don't want to make fun of people that have, like, are handicapped or anything. But I doubt very seriously you're walking around on your nose, right? Like, I could probably put that a better way. But that's the only way I can describe it in here. Oh. So, yeah. And, of course, we got the conflict between the U.S. government and Atlantis and this rune stone that everybody wants. And Superman, of course, is more focused on War World and what's going on there. He's not trying to have this conflict. He's not hearing about it, but it looks like it's going to turn into an all-out war. Something we've seen before. It would have been nice if they kind of, changed it up a little bit. If they had a person that could kind of, hey, why don't we kind of transform the conflict into this? Instead of trade routes and economics, why don't we just do it like, they accidentally blew up a boat of tourists? If they had a person that could kind of throw out those ideas to writers so they can, embellish them, there's a job out there for that, I'm sure. All right, next. Detective Comics. This is very well written. I enjoy every bit of this. We find out that there's a drunk in a holding cell that actually knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, but apparently he can only remember it when he's drunk and talking to Bruce Wayne, because he did that in here, and that was funny. We get a little bit more understanding about how this relationship with Mr. Worth and the Penguin and his whole band of bad guys, right? Apparently they're teaming up with Worth, call themselves the Jury. Trials out. I'm sure we'll get a lot of tropey language like that in the titles. But solid writing, just great storytelling in here, on point. All right, Static pops out. Again, if there was a person that kind of read the writer's story and said, hey, what does this mean right here? Let's look this up. Right? And this is my only hang-up on this, mind you. And it's because, again, I'm nerding out. So there's a theory that's mentioned in here. And I know somebody out there is like, I knew you were going to find the one weird thing. But apparently there's this theory where if you shoot enough electricity at something, you can dissipate a fire. Right? I know it sounds weird, right? Because you usually think of electricity. That's what starts a fire. And it was called ion something or other theory. It doesn't really matter because it was way off point. And the weird thing is, again, if this person just looked up the terminology and it was like, hey, why don't we call it this? That way, it's something based in reality. So not everything's just made up fiction. There is actually a theory. It was done through Harvard, a Harvard research paper, and it's a theory, so we can't prove it as of yet, where if you take enough electricity and focalize the beam and the ions in it, you can actually put out a fire. We just don't have the MacGuffin to actually put it together. Like, the solution's there, but the thing to actually do it's not, right? And this research came out in, I want to say 2005-ish was when the paper was first starting to be written. And here they mentioned something else that deals with ions, but it's actually in the distillation of water and the molecules in water, which didn't happen in here. And he put out a fire. That's way too much nerd talk. I get it, right? Like that's not very interesting. But again, there's always that douchebag out there that's like, what? Let me see if this is even a real thing. And come to find out, it was a great concept. It was the right idea. It's just the wrong vernacular. So, yeah. Okay, moving on. Infinite Frontier. I'm not overly familiar with all the other different types of lanterns out there. I should say that right up off the bat. But Speedy, Green Arrow's partner in here, apparently he's a Black Lantern now, a zombie that can manipulate shadows and stuff like that. And, he gets captured by the DEO. They're the only secret agency out there because Leviathan, back when Leviathan first came back out, kind of destroyed everything. Mr. Bones is in the background. Apparently, he's got some big plans, and we're heading towards another epic event that's probably going to be convoluted and way too complicated because this magical position that doesn't exist, apparently, isn't making things clear and connected. Okay, Robin. This is great. So he meets Ra's al Ghul. Apparently, Ra's al Ghul turned into a Starbucks attending hippie meditation. He's not a villain anymore. But in this, he explains how, even then he wasn't really a villain. Stars, woo-woo, meditation, whatever the case may be. And I don't mean that meditation's woo-woo, but his description of it in here is. And he kind of got the old Jedi talk. He gave the old Jedi talk to Robin, who of course doesn't want to hear it because he's super egotistical. But at the end, while he's chasing down who this cult of Lazarus is, of course he runs into, his Bat family, or a good portion of them anyways. I hate this picture. Take a look at Nightwing. What is that? Like, seriously? His face is the same length of his neck. I don't know. I swear I like comic books. Speaking of liking comic books, Batman Superman was good. So, if you've been reading this, they've been kind of jumping genres of types of movies. We just came out of a futuristic into a Western, and now we're going into a Western into a horror film, and we get our boy, the Demon. And apparently he's going to destroy Superman's world of tomorrow, where everything's kind of futuristic, but kind of has this 1940s feel to it. And he's going to sit there and destroy it. And the one way he finds out to destroy it is, of course, that's right, he goes to the Fortress of Solitude, and he's going to activate Superman's self-defense robots out there. It's fun. It's engaging, and I really like this whole, the Demon, and then Arthur I.O. being kind of represented as a god in here, and Demon being represented as the devil. And there's this negotiation between the two before he goes and does it, because he understands his role, whereas everybody else is starting to find out that they have a role. Right? It's biblical to some degree. Like, hey, I know how you operate. That's right, and you're going to do what I say. Well, I'm going to need this if you really want me to do it because I have free will. Okay, I'll give it to you. Right? It was kind of cool. There's my hand puppets. All right, moving into Marvel. Amazing Fantasy. So we're going to get kind of a Savage tale in here in a fantastic realm. So right now we got Captain America, we got Spider-Man, and we got Black Widow. Apparently they all died, or at least that's what Uncle Ben, that's right, the Uncle Ben told us. He's like, you all are dead. And we're in this magical world where we're gonna. It's almost like the Savage Lands, if you're familiar with that in any way, shape, or form. So we get the introduction of them. We get some cool action stuff in here to find out that people are not the same here, which is really cool. And of course we got a Captain America shield, which always sparks interest in me. Moving into Captain America. Captain America #2 comes out, and again, we get this kind of tropey thing now. It's the new trope in comic books. You got the knee landing, you got the spider jump, you got the MacGuffin device that can fix everything in a couple of panels, and now we have this crazy, bitter, super special, super great female character who has, no matter what you give her, she's got some snarky comment for you because she's young and hip or whatever the case may be. And it's getting kind of annoying. And it was especially annoying in this. Like, literally, the Captain Americas came to free her, and she's like, you could do more, be better. Like, it was just completely snarky. And I was just like, that's not... Like, apparently, gratitude or just being a normal person is beyond the scope of all these other Captain Americas at this point. And I know we can do where they're downtrodden and they've been beat up. Yeah, but if I came into a prison cell and was like, okay, yeah, you need to come out. Let's roll. Come on out. You're not going to be like, could have done it faster. And if you did, I'd just close the door and be like, that's fine. Screw you, stay there. Like, seriously. And then we find out more about how special in gymnastics and everything else she is. It's at this point, we'll call it the Teela trope. We used to call it Mary Sue, but this is actually worse because even Mary Sue was nice. We're calling it the Teela effect. Oh, hashtag Teela effect. Oh, put that everywhere you see this garbage, right? Hashtag Teela effect from Masters of the Universe. That's right. That's what we got in here. Everybody spends all their time complimenting her, telling her how special she is, and for some reason, she's still mad and upset, and you need to do better. Yeah, that's it. That's my review of Masters of the Universe 2. Alright, moving on. Beta Ray Bill. So this brings us to the conclusion of Beta Ray Bill beating Surtur, right, in hell for the sword, and did it in an epic battle. Robot, possibly love interest girl, transforms into a huge gun, right? Just good comic book fun, a little bit of silliness tapped into it, but ultimately a lesson learned at the end that sometimes what you want may not always be what you need. And so he's got Surtur's sword now. I hope they do something, either bring him back in some way, because this whole sword thing interests me, and I kind of want to see where that leads. Black Knight number 2, or no, this is number 5. This was the end of this particular run. Again, we have another female character who is just the Teela effect took place. You can do better, you need to do this. So if you're behind what he's wearing right there, that's now called the Ebony Crown. What does he do with the Ebony Crown? Once he takes it from Mordor, he forges it into a chair to sit in, and his daughter, right, who's been kind of following, we find out it's his daughter, she's going to be a Black Knight too. So, of course, somebody's got to swing it, and somebody's got to sit. My question is if it's made out of the same material as the Ebony Blade, wouldn't it make more sense just to, like, fashion it into another type of weapon instead of a chair? Just so you can see what's going on around you? Like, that was kind of... So now we have 2 Black Knights. One Black Knight to me was enough, because you remember, it's a douchebag character. But she's not a douchebag. She's super smart, super special, super everything else with something special inside of her. Apparently the DNA of King Arthur or something. I don't know. It's just, some points you just want to give up. Alright, Amazing Spider-Man. They launch us into Sinister Wars. Guess what happens in this one? Flashbacks. Flashback after flashback. And then... Dun dun dun, Mary Jane, your psychiatrist, was really Mephisto the entire time. That's right, which we kind of already knew, if you've been following the series. If you haven't, I don't blame you. Oh, and also he's been working with Kindred, something we already knew. And so that means Kindred's captured Mary Jane now. And you would think, like, oh crap, Spider-Man is all going to hit the fan. I bet you money it doesn't, because of the Teela effect. Seriously, take the bet, comment down below. Alright, Fantastic Four. So Johnny Storm breaks up the wedding. You know, he slept with Doctor Doom's future wife, Victorious. War breaks out, and Johnny Storm gets what he deserves. Apparently, Doctor Doom has set him on fire to where he's constantly on fire now, and anything he touches will burn to embers, which is kind of what he deserves right now. The way he treated the little Sky girl that he was married to, all sleeping around, dodging around, you know, just being a dodgy guy, right? And now everybody's concerned about fixing him, you know, making him a better person, just putting the flames out. The flames of passion. Okay, Something is Killing the Kids came out this week. This was good. I like this. We get kind of weird hipster guy. He's out on a farm someplace. Wants random animals on his farm. I'm still not a fan of this artwork. What is going on with that chick's eyes? Like, what is that? It's like everything's shocking to her. It's a surprise. Which I guess it kind of could be here. Come to find out, they're very cult-like in here. They have an altar. They have a magical being within a doll, like a voodoo doll type of thing going on. And apparently that has entered her. Not in a weird way. Is entered her. So now we got to find out if she's actually going to live, because we didn't realize how grown this particular monster was from belief. Sounds weird, but it's really cool, and I would read it. All right, Berserker. Hey, editor, we got enough of his flashback story. You think maybe you can progress this along a little bit? If you don't know, that's what happened. He another flashback of the day his mom died, dad died, village was finally destroyed because dad just couldn't stop attacking people or whatever the story was. And then we find out that, the psychiatrist lady kind of wants to tell him the truth of what's going on. I think it's what he's already said in here when he's like, hey, when you guys are done building your super soldiers of your immortal super soldiers, I'm sure the cure will come up then for my little ailment that I have of not dying. I don't know. I bet you that's going to happen. Okay. And just something that I picked up. It wasn't from this week. It was Department of Truth. I missed the last issue. This is issue 11. I didn't get this when it came out. And my comic book store felt really bad, so they ordered it for me. And I'm a huge fan of Department of Truth. I like this whole believing things into manifestation. I love the way they described how a story can actually progress into something that you would see in pulp culture, like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, how that kind of folklore progresses into reality. I really enjoyed that. So that's all my books for this week. What did you think of it? What did you pick up, and what are you enjoying? And what do you think about the Teela effect? Can we make this happen, please? Because Mary Sue just seems like an old term at this point. Maybe we need to update it and reboot it. Alright, guys. I got nothing else. Don't forget, Blaster or Stash It. Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Spectacular Spider Grandpa, and Huey's Comics. We're all going to talk about these books and some more, and we're going to have a chat room, and we want to invite you to it. So definitely check it out Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got to go make Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. So I'll see you all later. Bye.